In this video, I will show you how to do server-send events. I will talk about AJAX, WebSockets, and during the video, you will see some facts that you need to know. So please follow along. To demonstrate the server-side events, SSEs, I have created this application where I have two Chrome browsers and two Firefox browsers. As soon as I subscribe, you can see how all these browsers get updated with a subscription. If I want to subscribe to my own channel, I will just click subscribe. They are all updated. And if I click on Firefox, they also get updated, updated, and updated. This is done without AJAX and without WebSockets. So let me explain how all this works, and then we will get to the coding part. I really hope that you will subscribe to this channel. It helps me a lot, it doesn't cost you anything, and you learn many things from it. When we talk about AJAX, this is what happens. If we have Chrome and we want to know if somebody has subscribed to channel A, B, or C, Chrome will do the following. The client connects to the server and asks if somebody has subscribed to the channel, or is asking to get a list of the subscriptions for any of these channels. The server talks back to Chrome and says no update. And this keeps on happening over and over and over. This connection is always destroyed. Eventually, pretend that Firefox, somebody using this browser, clicks on subscribe for channel A. So it sends an AJAX message to the server and it says subscribe to channel A. Now the server gets the subscription requirement and it says, okay, I know you subscribed. Now the server contains here a subscription for channel A. The connection is destroyed, and now every minute, it could be every second, it could be every 20 seconds, that's up to you to decide. Chrome will connect to the server and it will say, do you have something for me? In this scenario, the server replies and it says, yes, we have a subscription for A. So it's literally passing this subscription via this channel to Chrome. And now Chrome updates 1, let's say, to 2, pretending that it was already having a previous subscribe. So as you can see, this connection between AJAX, client and servers happens over and over and over, and sometimes there is no data that the server will reply with. Now I will explain what WebSockets are. In WebSockets, this is what happens. The client, in this case Chrome, talks to the server and it says, let's have an open connection. The server says, all right, since you want me to have a WebSocket, I will just keep this connection open. If at any time the server wants to send data to the client, it is possible, it is allowed. The client doesn't have to initiate any new connection, the connection is open. Since there's nothing happening between the server and the client, well, there are no subscriptions, so no data is sent between the two. Eventually, somebody using Firefox connects to the client also via WebSockets and it says, let's have an open connection. The server says, all right, this is a WebSocket, we keep the connection open. So a user clicks on subscribe for channel A. Since the user clicks on subscribe for channel A, the user sends a message. In this case, the message says subscribe to A. Since this is an open connection, it travels through this connection to the server, and the server has an open connection towards the client. Now the client gets the subscription for A, and it obviously updates A to 1. This could happen via JavaScript client side. Now, this is not just what WebSockets can do. You can also send data back to Firefox from Chrome. So if Chrome wanted to send a message back to Firefox, it will be allowed. And this is what you oftentimes see in chats or games. data going from one machine to another machine back and forth. And this is the case for WebSockets. If you have live data going two ways, from one client to another client and vice versa, you should use WebSockets. Now let me tell you what SSEs or server send events are. Server send events, on the other hand, is the following. A client starts creating an SSE against the server, and the server responds back to the client and says, I have an open connection. The difference with SSEs and WebSockets is that once the client has opened the connection towards the server, the client cannot send data to the server via the same connection. So the client cannot talk to the server via the SSE. On the other hand, the server can always send data back to the client. If the client wanted to talk to the server, then the client can easily just create a new AJAX request and get a response via this request. But let me show you the example in which somebody subscribes to a channel. Now Firefox also starts an SSE connection towards the server. The server says, all right, we're doing an SSE. I will keep an open channel from the server to Firefox. Safari also wants to talk to the server, so it says let's start an SSE connection, and obviously the server says okay, let's have this open. Eventually, let's say that in Firefox somebody subscribes to channel A, so I will just take this and I will create a subscription for A. This subscription cannot be sent via this channel because this channel is not allowed to pass data from Firefox to the server. Therefore, Firefox has to create an AJAX request against the server. The subscription travels from Firefox via AJAX towards the server, and now the connection is closed. You see? A new connection to the server. On the other hand, once the server has the subscription of A, it can let Chrome and Safari know about it. I will just copy this so you can see it. It takes the subscription for A, it uses the open SSE channel, and it sends the subscription for A to Chrome. Now Chrome updates via JavaScript 1 to 2. It does the exact same thing for Safari. It takes the subscription for A, sends it via the open channel, and now Safari uploads the subscription to 1. Now these two are not in sync. This says 1, that says 2, and obviously that says 0, but in the code I will show you how we sync all the data. So no matter which browser you're using, and at some point, any of these three browsers, by the way, but if at some point they lose connectivity, as soon as they come online again, they will be updated with the latest result. I will show you that in the code. So I hope that you understand the difference between WebSockets and SSEs. WebSockets are very well known and very used when you have live data going back and forth between clients, and SSEs are very used, very well known whenever you want to pass data from one client to other clients. So let's get to the code so you can see how this is done. So you need to have installed NodeJS. I guess you have done already that. Open a terminal, point to a folder. In my computer, I have created this folder called SSE, and from the terminal, I'm pointing to it. The first thing we need to do in this folder is create a package.json. And the nice thing about server-side events, server-send events, is that they don't have any dependencies. You don't need to download any packages for it. So what I'm going to do here is literally just create a simple Node.js server using Express. So I'm going to create the dependencies, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it to use Express. In this video is 4.17.1, that's the latest version. Let's save it. And from the terminal, right away, let's install those packages. When you do that, you will see that a new folder is created there and the installation was successful. Let's create the server. So create a new file, call it server.js. Most coders, they will call this file app.js, but I like to call it server. And what we will do here is just create a simple server. So we say const express, we're going to require express. And then we're going to instantiate express in the app. So we do it in this way. Let's create a comment. And then I will just copy this a few times and paste it. So I have some comments and then I can split the code into pieces. I'm going to listen to prod 80. So I will say the app is going to listen to prod 80. And if we get an error, we will have to check it with an if statement. So let's just check it. If we have an error, we're just going to console.log. Server cannot listen. And then we're going to just return, always return. Or else, we're just going to console.log, and that's an implicit else. Server listening. Save it, and as soon as I save it, make sure that in your terminal you have NodeMon running. If you don't have this command available in your computer, you can go and watch other videos that I have about Node.js, or just go to Google and search for how to install Mongo. It's pretty simple, npm install NodeMon. So we're just going to run Node.js. Maybe you will have an issue running on port 80 because you might have other applications already using the port. You can change this to 5555 if you want it, or 3333 if you want it. Just find a different port. I just leave it on port 80. What I'm going to do now is just create a route here. Pretty simple. It's just going to be a get, and then I'm going to point to the root, and obviously I will have the callback in which we get the reg and the res. And this callback will just res.send, and I'm going to send a status first of all. The status is going to be 200, which means okay, and then we're going to send just the letter X to test if this is working fine. Let's go to the browser and let's open a new window, and now we're going to point to localhost and click enter. So that's where we get the letter X. I don't have a CSS, I don't have any styling on it, and I don't need to have that at the moment, so that's pretty okay for me. So I will just keep the browser a little bit on this side so it doesn't bother us too much, and then I can just reload, right? Since that's working okay, let's now create the index page. So create a new file, call it index.html, and this file is just going to contain the channels that we can subscribe to. So create an HTML template, pretty straightforward. Let's just call it subscribe. And in the body, we're going to create a container. So a div with the class container. Inside this div, we are going to create 3 different channels. We'll create the first one, which will be a div. The ID of this channel will be just AAA. That's the ID that I want to pass to the server, and the server will send event to the other clients. And this class will be just channel. Let's close the div. Now we need to give a name to the channel so we can see it. I will just create a name class that will be AAA. And we're going to have also a div in which we have a class for the subscribers. And this will be 0 because we have 0 subscribers at the moment on this channel. And the last thing we need is to create a button. The button will just have an on-click event. And whenever we click on it, we're going to subscribe. And we're going to subscribe. And then I want to pass the channel ID inside the subscribe button. The caption will just say subscribe. So I will save. I cannot really test this at the moment because I'm not hooking the route to the index page. So I want to do that. I will show you how I do this. I don't like templating engines. This is not the topic for it. So what I do is I just create a file system so I can play with the files. I will just require fs, and I will also just use the path. So I will require path so I can point to the index file. You can see they are not strongly bold letters because I'm not using these variables at the moment. So since I want to use them inside this route, I'm just going to create a variable. Let's call it HTML. And we say that we want to read the file synchronously. I know Node.js works async, but this is going to be a sync function. And then we're going to do a path.join, and we're going to join this dir name, which is the directory I am at the moment. Let me just move this a little bit there. That will be the first argument. The second argument will be the index.html that I want to open. And the third argument, let me just break this into a new line. And the third argument will be the encoding. I want to open the file as UTF-8. So now this line will open the index file and the contents of it will be inside that variable. Now I can just put it back there. And what I want to return is not the letter X, is actually HTML. Save it, test it. Nice, we get this error. Let me show you how I get to this. It says invalid encoding for the index HTML. And then you can see that all the message, I mean, you can try to read it, but it will be very, very long. So let's see if I check this again. You can see the path.join, and if you read the message, maybe it tells you the error, but you can see why I open the parentheses. I'm opening there and closing right there, and that's the error. So path.join is a function. I send the first argument, the second argument, and the third argument. Hopefully that fixes it. You can see I'm trying to reload. The error is already there, so it is not fixed. Now I only have one parenthesis, so I need to close it. Save it again, and now it runs, and another bug. Now it says here, no such file or directory, index HTML UTF-8. So this is wrong because this here belongs to the path. I know it's annoying that I'm showing you all this, but it's because I want you to learn also Node.js together with server-side events, server-side events. So path.join is the function, and this parenthesis has to close right there. So we join the dir name, and then we get it, the file sync, we get it as UTF-8. Save it, no box, reload, we get the first channel. All right, let's continue with the index page. So I'm just going to copy the same channel a couple of times. So I take this, copy it, paste again, and paste one more time right there. I will make a few changes. This channel here will be W3 certified, which is my channel, and the name will be W3 certified. And when we subscribe, we are going to point to W3 certified. If you have a real database, this will be the ID of the channel. I'm just hard coding this for now. And the last channel, we have the ID BBB. The name will be BBB. It doesn't really matter what you write there. And it will just pass ID BBB. We save it, we reload, and now you can see that we have our 3 channels. Now, I'm going to point to the CSS so it looks better. Let's go ahead and create a public folder. Inside the public folder, we're going to pass the app.css, and what we're going to do is we're going to tell the server to point to any public or to the public folder. To do that, Express has a nice function. I will just move this comment right there. And then we're going to say that the app is going to use, and we are going to tell Express to use the static folder that we call public. When we do this, we can just point from the index page to the public folder and get the CSS. So to point to the folder, we just go up here, and then we're going to link it. So we say link, we're going to link to the CSS, and it's the app.css that we're pointing to. We don't have, we have the app, but we don't have any code for it. I'm going to cheat a little bit so the video doesn't become too long. I already have created the application, so I just paste the code for the CSS right there. So you can pause the video and copy it. It doesn't have anything. You don't even need to copy the CSS, the styling, but if you want it, this is how you do it. So I'm going to just save, and I'm going to try to reload again. And now you can see that I get this, let's call it nice layout. It's not that nice, but this is how we get the first part of the application. Now we also need to hook it to the click on the subscribe. So that's what we're going to do now. Let me just move this a little bit there. Let's create a script tag. Just before you close the body, always do this. JavaScript always at the bottom, just before you close the body. And we could link to an external JS file. We can also just put the JavaScript right in there. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to create a subscribe function first of all. And as soon as somebody subscribes, I will just function subscribe. The function subscribe will take the company ID. And what it will do is just, for now, console.log the company ID. Save it. And I need to look at the console now. And over here I have the console. Let me just attach it to the browser right there. So we have the console. I'm going to reload. And now I can just click on subscribe, A, W3, and BBB. It's right here at the bottom. But this is not enough. As soon as we subscribe, we want to send an AJAX request to the server saying that we want to subscribe to this company. To do that, we have to create this function asynchronously. And what that will do is just create a connection, and the connection will await. We're going to fetch, and then I'm going to invent. I will just backtick this, that we pass or we connect to the subscribe route. And then we're going to point or pass actually the company ID. So we're going to subscribe to AAA, W3 certified or BBB. And then we're going to get a response from the AJAX request. And this is also awaiting. From the connection, we will get JSON. And I will just console.log the response to test if the route is working fine. Nothing will happen now because I do not have this route. So let's create the route. So far, no server send events, not at this moment, but it's coming in a second. Let's create the next route, app.get. The route is pointing to subscribe, and then we are passing, as you saw it before, a variable in the company ID. So we expect to get a variable. We can call this whatever we want. I will call it company ID. And then we're going to get a callback in which we get a rec and a res. What I will do is here on the server, I want to console.log the company that I want to subscribe to. So we'll do a console.log backtick. Always use backticks, it's the easiest. And then I will just say subscribe to, and then I will just use the string literal, and then I will just pass the variable called company ID. This message is just for the command prompt, but company ID will not work because this is coming from the request. So I need to do this request.params.company ID. Then it will work. After we get the company ID, we're going to respond to the client with a status of 200, and we're going to pass just some JSON. It doesn't matter what you pass, but I will just say that we have a message, and the message will say subscribe to company, and then I want to pass in here the company ID again. So this has to be backtick. I will backtick it and close the backtick, and then I will just pass the company name again. Same, right? And I will save and test it. If the user wants to subscribe to W3 certified, we get the W3 certified here, but we never send anything to the server. We can see that the server is listening, but nothing happens. Well, let's reload the page first of all, and now let's click on subscribe. Many coders, they forget to reload, so you saw how I spotted that. I didn't see the message there, so I refreshed. If I click on the AAA, BBB, you get the idea. So far we have connected via AJAX to the server. Now comes the complex part, which is the server-side event, server-send event, and we need to create a database. You will see how it is. I'm not going to build a database using Mongo or MySQL or Redis. What I will do, I will literally create my own simple database right in there. And this is the beauty of NodeJS. It's asynchronous, so we can always have things in memory. Let's create a variable called companies, and this is going to be really complicated for most of you. You need to have good coding skills and knowledge about objects, JSON objects, because I'm going to create these companies not as an array, but I will create the companies as keys inside JSON objects. So every company, in this case AAA, which is the key, will have a subscribers, and it will start at 0. I will duplicate this line twice, and then this will be W3 certified, and the last ID will be the BBB. Now, the IDs that we passed from the user interface towards this database must match. So imagine these are IDs in a database. So subscribers, I hope they're not typos, and this is the database. And I will create also a global version for the database. This is the part where synchronization will take place. If you have 10 browsers connected to the server, imagine that a browser loses connectivity towards the server for 5 or 7 seconds. And then when the browser goes back online, the browser will want to get the latest version for the database. If the browser has a lower version, it will know that it has to fetch the new data. If the browser has the same version as the version in the server, it will not fetch anything. So you will understand all this when we connect this to the system. Now, the last part we need to do, I'm going to create here inside this subscribe. Before I send the data, I'm going to console.log, and then I'm going to log companies. Companies is just this variable, right? So you can see what we have in there. Save it, reload, and then I'm going to subscribe. These are the companies that I have. Now, every time I click on subscribe, I would like to increase the value of the company, the specific company. Doing that is quite simple. What we have to do is, before we log it, we are going to say from the companies, we are going to fetch, and then we're going to point to the company ID, which is inside this variable there. So from the companies, point to AAA or W3 certified or BBB, and then the subscribers key increase it by 1. And these subscribers That's the key, and that's the key I'm pointing to. So let's save it. Let's reload and let's subscribe. Now the server is listening. I had to click enter there because now I subscribed to W3 certified one time. Now let's try with AAA and BBB. Now you can see that this is the list that all the other browsers will get once we connect via the SSEs. All right, so now the last part is just connecting to the SSE. So let's go to the index part, to the index page, and we are going to create an SSE connection, which is fairly simple. No plugins, nothing special. Var, event source, you can call this anything you want, just a variable. We're going to create a new event source, and that's the SSE. And then we're going to point to a path that I want to invent. I want to just point to SSE. This is my own invented path. The server doesn't have it at the moment, but it will once I finish this tutorial. And then we say that the event source is going to add an event listener, and the default event listener for an SSE is called message. So you don't have to do anything. If the server sends an event, it will always get picked in the message function in the client. And then what you will get back is a function in which you have the event. This event will contain some data. I will show you what the data contains. Always do a try catch, always, whenever you play with some data. I'm not going to be using the catch because then the tutorial will be too long. And then what I will do is just console.log, and then I will log e.data. You will see what this data contains. Save it. Server is running there. And now we need to create the SSE path. This path here, this route. So let's go to the server. And what we're going to do is just create that route. App.get. This is the beauty of SSEs. They just work on gets and they run on port 80. Nothing special about it. And then we're going to have the callback. So we're going to have a regress. And what we're going to do now, as soon as we get an SSE connection, we're just going to console.log client connected to SSE. Save it, server restarted, reload, and now you can see that the client connected to the SSE. If you remember the initial part of the video, now the connection is open between the client and the server. Let's inspect the elements so you can see everything that's going on here. If you go to the network and then you reload, you will see that. Let me see if I can just move this a little bit. I wanted to show you the SSE taking place here. Oh yeah, here, right there, all the way at the bottom. Let's just move this to the side then, like so. Now you can see that the SSE is pending. That means that you have an open connection between the client and the server server will push the event with data to this SSE. If you click on it, there's nothing in the preview because no data has been sent, and the headers are having this head. It's an event stream, that's an SSE, it's not cacheable, and it's keeping it alive. I will pass these headers in purpose again from the server so you can see how that's done. But this SSE is working fine. So let's go back to the code. It's behind this window, of course. And what we will do is finish the SSE. The first thing you need to tell it is that the response, we're going to set a few headers. Just in case, we're going to send the content type to be, we're going to do a text event stream, the same that we saw just a few seconds ago, is stream. And then we're going to res.set. We're going to set the connection. And the connection is going to be keep alive. So you learn how to set here headers. We're saying that this is going to be an SSE event stream. We're going to keep the connection alive. This is the second argument. And then we're going to set also the cache control. So cache-control, and it's going to be no cache, not that cache. And you can also set the allow origin, access control allow origin to everything. We're not going to use it, but let me just do it since I mentioned it. So we're going to set the access control allow origin, and this will be everything. You don't need this line, but if you had different sources connected from different ports, from different host domains, this would work. Save it again. Let's just reload. Client connected. Okay, great. And here comes the tricky part. Not difficult to code, just for you to understand it. When the browser connects to this route, we're going to let the route handle the browser basically forever. And to do that, we need to create an interval. So we're going to say set interval. And this set interval takes a function, and the function will run every second. That means that every second it will try to push something to the SSE. And for now, we're just going to write to the SSE. So we say res.send the status, always play with the status. It's going to be at 200. And then we're going to do not do send, because send will send data to the SSE and it will close the connection automatically. This has to be a connection that's always open, and therefore you use write. Now back ticket. Then we say data, and in the data you can pass whatever you want. So you can pass test, save it. This data is coming in the SSE event. If you look at the index page, the SSE route, actually, whenever you get a message, that's the default, it will run the E, which is the SSE.data. That's the data. It has to be called data. You cannot name it something else. Save it. Let's look at the console, reload the page, and let's subscribe. Now you can see that we get a message that says subscribe to company AAA. That is what we hard-coded. And that message is coming. Let me show you from where. 2 seconds, guys. Right. So where was I? Yeah. So we reload. It says connected to the SSE. We don't see anything in the console. Let's check the message event here. And let's check again the network tab. Let's see if we have something in the SSE. You can see that this is moving every second. It's because the server is sending data to this SSE. Let's click on it. And now you can see that it's connected. It's always connected. No cache, keep alive, and it's an event stream. Let's check what we have in the stream. In the event stream, we should have data. Let's just reload it. And we're not seeing the data in here. Let's fix that. Right, so I will just move this here. And the protocol for SSE says that if you want to pass data, you must finish it with a \n/n. That's how it has to be done. I'm not going to bore you with all the things that you can do with SSEs, but this is how you should do it. Now let's save it. Let's reload. Now this SSE, you can see how it's fetching data. Click on it, and now you can see how I'm getting the word test over and over and over. And this is not what you want. You don't want the server to be pushing data constantly to the client. You only want to get data in the client if somebody has subscribed to one channel. To do that, let's just get back to the server. Let's do it there. And in this set interval, we're not going to write test every second. What we're going to write is actually just the company's data, the whole JSON object with the companies. So the client can check and can update the GUI, the user interface, with the numbers that are passed inside this company's JSON object. So instead of writing data test, what I will do is I will just say that we are going to write JSON.stringify. We need to pass text, you cannot pass JSON. So I'm going to stringify literally companies. And I will save it. We're going to reload again. We're going to check the SSE. Now it's passing data. Click on the SSE. And now you can see what I'm getting. I'm getting the whole object with the subscriptions. So if I click on, let's say, subscribe for AAA, now you can see change to 1. If I click on, let me just shrink this a little bit more. I will zoom out for a second. Now I will subscribe to W3 Certified 3 times. I will click here 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And now we can see that we get 3, 3, 3, 3 there. I think you get it there. Let's get back to the zooming. But this is not good enough. What we need to do now is once we have subscribe, we cannot pass this every second to the client. And this is probably the most complex things to understand, is that we are going to set a local version for the client. When Chrome connects to this route, this specific tab, this one here, will have its own version. So I will call it local version, and we will start at 0. So Chrome connects to this route via SSE, and the local version for this tab is 0. And now we're going to check if the versions match. So before we send the data to the browser, we're just going to do a simple check. We say if the local version is less than the global version is the version that I have here. And I'm not using that at the moment, but I will. So if it is less than the global version, we will just send the data back, and we are going to match the 2 versions. So we'll say that the local version is going to be the same as the global version, because now this tab has the same version as the global version in our database. And I think that will do the versioning. So we send and then we match the versions. The thing that we need to think about is that every time we subscribe to a channel, like I did here, when I subscribe to it, I send the message back to the server, to the client via, this is just AJAX, but I also want to increase the global version by 1. So if I subscribe to A, I have global version 1, but the local version of the browser is 0. So it says, if 0, being the local, is less than 1, send me the new data and let's just match the versions. This is how it should be done. So let's save it now, and I'm going to reload. Let's look at the SSE. Let's see where it is. Now you can see that the connection is pending, but you can see that there is no data being sent. It says 0. You can see that. I click on it. In the preview, there's nothing being sent because we have the same version. Now when I click on subscribe, now you can see that the SSE actually did send some data, 2.8 kilobytes were sent towards the server. I will click again on subscribe, and now you can see that the data is being transferred right there via the SSE. I think the last thing we need to do is just update the user interface. So let's go to the index page right there. And whenever we get the new data, we want to updated. So first of all, let's convert the data to JSON. Let's call it companies again, from a string to JSON. So we're going to parse it, and we're going to parse e.data. So now we have the exact same copy of the server in the client. We're going to create just a loop. We're going to get the company ID inside the company's JSON object. This is how I like to do with a for in when I loop through JSON objects. And then what I will do, this company ID will be the AAA or W3 certified or BBB. And then I will just say document.querySelector. And remember to backtick it. I'm going to select the ID, and I want to select AAA or W3 certified or BBB. So what I will do, I will just select the company ID in this string literal. And then I'm going to point to the class right there, to the class called subscribers. If you pay attention to the DOM elements, this is the div with BBB, and then I'm going to go inside the subscribers, and I'm going to keep this really simple. So you cannot do, and I have to break this into 2 lines. So the subscribers will be, you cannot just plus it, because maybe 5 people like the company, subscribe to the channel at the same time. Maybe 20 people like the image that you have posted, or maybe 100 people did something with that specific piece of data. So what you have to do is you have to say from the company's object, point to the company ID, which is the ID of the company, and then give me the subscribers. So let's test it again. Reload. No data being sent. Just reload again. Let's inspect the console first of all. Now let's see what we have. We have 2 subscribers and 2 for A, 1 for W3, and 0 for B. But I don't see any box. Let's just save it again. Reload it. Subscribe to company A. The GUI is not being reloaded. Let's try to debug it. So let's go back here. I will do this in 1 line. I don't think that's the bug at all, but let me just make sure that I don't have any typos there. No, this is working fine. So what I need to check is right here. Let's console.log. Maybe the query selector is wrong, but I will just console.log the ID with the company ID. Like that. Backtick it and backtick it, just to make sure that I'm selecting the right company. Reload again. Let's look at the console. It's very hard to do this in a very big screen, so let's just reload it. Missing a parenthesis. Let's do that. Lost the code, wasted. Come on, I don't want that. And I don't want that as well. Sorry guys, the code is right there. Okay, so this is not backticked correctly, as you can see it here. Backtick it. Save it. Reload. Subscribe. So now we have the ID AAA, which is correct. This is the JSON object, which is correct. Subscribers, that's correct. So now we need to point to the company ID AAA to subscribers, which will be the class. Let's copy. Let's paste it. And then I'm going to just, for a second, just do the letter X there. Save it. Reload again. Yeah, I can see that I'm not pointing correctly to the elements here. So I am in the loop because I can see the company ID. Then we say document.querySelector. We will select, oh yeah, I can see what I'm forgetting, is the .innerHTML. So we'll just undo, and in here we'll say .innerHTML. I know this is insecure, but this is not the purpose of the tutorial. So let's just give it one more chance. Test, reload. This is the data in the database. 3 turns into 4, turns into 2. I'm going to speed this a little bit. So I'm not going to check every second. I will do this 10 times a second, so 100. Let's test it again. Let's reload. There are no subscribers. I will do this with 2 taps now. And I will just subscribe, 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 and keep on subscribing. Now you can see they are always in sync. So this is how SSEs work. You can read more about them. This is a very short tutorial, even though it turned to be quite long, but it's necessary that you understand how to build this. If I have to show you the code again in a fast overview, you get a route in which you display the HTML code. You connect to this route via AJAX, and then you subscribe to a company. You make a change in the database, and then via the SSE, you literally have a never-ending set interval, which will send the new version of the database or the new numbers for the subscriptions. You decide what to send here, and that's it. In the server, in the client side, you get the SSE, and then you update the DOM accordingly. Alright guys, thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and like it.